The NBA world is still a mess. Not much is certain as of me recording this, but one constant that everyone can look forward to is the NBA draft. Eventually. Today, we are going to dive into one of this year's most highly touted big men prospects, James Wiseman. But before we get started, please like the video, it helps more than you realize. And let me know in a comment where you think he will ultimately fall come draft night. Unlike most top prospects this year, there is not a lot of valuable game film on Wiseman. Most of what you can find are high school and AAU highlights. Here we get an idea as to why so many college scouts loved him as a prospect. Wiseman is a 7-foot-tall dunking machine who can swat away shots with the best of them and runs the floor very well given his tall stature. Watching his mixtapes makes you think he is playing on a Nerf hoop, just slamming everything down with so much force that nobody can stop. The thing I noticed, however, is that in a lot of these games, he is playing against much lesser and smaller competition. This is no fault of his own. There simply are not a lot of true centers to match up against in the junior circuit. Height and athleticism at an early age does wonders for a rough basketball prospect. And not to sound negative, but that is what Wiseman appears to be. I think we can all agree that Wiseman should have left the United States to play alongside LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton in the Australian NBL. Here he could have developed his body and his game to compete at a professional level while making great money and living in one of the world's nicest countries. But we all know top college basketball recruits are getting paid under the table, so he took that route. But selecting Memphis over schools like Kentucky, Texas, Arizona, and Kansas? Obviously, some very powerful people are going to have a problem with this, and in the end, he was busted for accepting money labeled as, quote, moving expenses, end quote. As a result of this, Wiseman was only able to play in 3 games with the Memphis Tigers, in which he faced some unremarkable competition. Against South Carolina State, who finished with an 11-18 record, Wiseman looked spectacular, but he was matched up against a 6'8" kid who is on nobody's draft radar. Then in a game against the University of Illinois, Chicago, he again looked great, but again, against far inferior talent. Lastly, in his final matchup, he had the opportunity to play against a nationally ranked Oregon Ducks team, but Wiseman got in early foul trouble and finished with an okay but not spectacular 14 points in a losing effort. What makes this worse is he squared off against a 3-point, 4 rebounds per game averaging 6'9" center here. If you are a fan of those teams, I apologize. But the point I am trying to get across is Wiseman is heavily lacking in valuable on-court experience. This is because he elected to try Memphis instead of the NBL or another pro league. He is a great dunker, but we have rarely gotten the opportunity to watch him match up with other top centers. Beyond dunks, Wiseman struggles with putting the ball on the floor. Just about all his rim finishes are offensive rebounds, lobs, or pick and rolls. Now, don't get me wrong, those are very valuable skills in the constantly evolving NBA, but he falls short everywhere beyond 5 feet from the rim. His mid-range shot is not horrible, but many point out his willingness to settle for the long two when he catches the ball pretty much anywhere outside the paint. When matched up against fellow bigs, he often looks one-dimensional on the block, and again, post skills are mattering less and less every year in the NBA, so this is not truly a big deal. But this is still a facet of his game which you wish he was stronger in. His floor defense is also not great. He gets baited into stupid fouls way too easily for a top 5 pick in my eyes. And lastly, he does not consistently shoot threes. This last knock is not a huge deal, as many great NBA players, even beyond the center position, still are not pulling up from deep, but they all have very strong skills in other parts of their game. I am not sure if, as of right now, Wiseman has this. Okay, I am done being mean, so hold your hate comments if you have not already hit enter. Wiseman is still one of the top prospects in the draft. Some say he is the potential #1 overall pick, which he very well could be. As it stands, I would say on the positive side, he could fill a role somewhere between Nerlens Noel, Mitchell Robinson, and Clint Capella. A pretty big range, and this is not a knock, as these guys are very talented players who fill or soon will fill crucial roles on talented teams. But #1 overall pick? I really don't think so. One thing I must say is that everyone is going to have to wait like 3 years before we make any final remarks on him as a player. He is far too unpolished. It would not shock me to see him come off the bench in his rookie season because of this, and honestly, this may be for the best. As of right now, we still do not know the draft order. But looking at the worst teams in the league, we will find a few at the center position already locked in. This being the Hawks, Timberwolves, and Suns, I presume are going to pass on him unless he plummets on draft night. Then you have the maybes. A lot of bad teams with centers right now, but who knows what their future holds, so perhaps selecting Wiseman could eventually pay off. I think the Knicks, Cavaliers, Spurs, Pelicans, Pistons, Nets, Trailblazers, Wizards, and Kings fall in this category. And lastly, the favorites. The teams in desperate need of a center who I could imagine drafting Wiseman above all others. This list contains only 2 teams, the Charlotte Hornets and the Golden State Warriors. So potentially a #1 overall pick, but also maybe a #10 pick. We will have to wait and see. Okay, I have rambled on long enough. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment below your thoughts on Wiseman's potential in the NBA, as well as what team you see him being selected by. Also, if you have a video idea, please share. I am all ears and want to research players you guys genuinely care about. Please like the video, subscribe for more basketball content. I will see you all next time.